Oh man. Like right when you walk in, you had all those people with like the different types of airplanes that were just throwing them, and you're just like, you're just like, this is kid heaven. Oh
Oh
You
my
get lost
god.
so easily in there.
Yeah.
It's the same reason they stopped doing bookstores, just the internet.
Stupid. It is absolutely stupid.
Well, they're coming
Well, actually,
back.
bookstores, I'm okay with that in a sense. I think actually I like when bookstores are small, when it's just like they
Specialized.
have like yeah, when they have like weird books, things like
Well,
that.
they're making a comeback. I still don't get why libraries and bookstores aren't one and the same.
Because libraries got to keep those books, man.
I know, but you have enough on section, and then just double it up and have next floor where buy books. It just makes so
Yeah,
much more
there's some.
sense.
I think some libraries do that, but the thing is, most of them, from what I understand, they actually have library networks where they trade books with each other, and they
Yeah,
try to
Okay.
keep track of demand. And so, like, it's they. I don't know if it's
and
the
they're not
kind of thing
privately
where
owned.
yeah, yeah. So like, they don't have money to like buy volumes of books
All right.
Okay.
All right, guys. What are
Yeah,
you guys talking about? What's going on here?
we're talking about Tunic Tunic.
and toy stores and books
Crystal Pepsi.
Yeah,
and yeah,
Pepsi.
Pepsi Blue.
All right, cool.
And don't
Yeah,
forget Rick Astley.
Oh, and
yeah,
Rick Astley.
And Rick Astley, yes, Rick Astley.
yeah. I've been to the library since high school. That was at least freaking 14 years ago.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'd say like 8 years for me, something like that.
I've been to a small bookstore less than a few months ago, and then I went to like larger one, obviously, like a few weeks ago, like Barnes and Noble. Yeah, but I don't buy books. I buy board games.
Yeah, nice.
They seem to be making a really strong comeback. Like a lot of people are buying board games now. Same with like printed cards.
It's because board games are awesome, man. Um,
Board games are life, man.
Also encourages people to actually get together as opposed to meeting once or twice a month.
yeah,
Like, hey,
because if you look at like the the trend, it's that like look at something like Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go is a really good example. Um, it's not a board game, but what I mean is that like people are loving the idea that they hang out with each other in real life, you know. And board games do that, and a lot of board games have really amazing social design to them. For instance, like Nick knows because he's been hanging out with us when we do our game nights. But like, there's a game that we play called Coup, and it's just like a
that's a good one.
yeah, it's really fun. And there's other games that are like that, anyways, that we play. But the point I'm trying to make is that um, these games take advantage of something that you can't do in a video game, or at least in most video games, which is playing off of people's cunning or lies. Like when people are lying to you or not. That's like the charm of the game. So basically, in the game of Coup, you play like some sort of like corporate entity, and you're trying to take over the world type of thing. And each player gets two influences, and influences are basically your life. If you lose your influences, you lose the game. So you have two of them. But the trick of the game is that nobody knows who your influences are. Do you have an assassin, or do you have a captain, or are you rolling with a duke? You know? And each class has abilities, and those abilities allow you to do certain things to take currency. That currency, if you have enough of it, well, you can coup somebody, which basically means you can kill somebody, right? You can kill one of the influences. And so in the beginning of the game, you're just slowly collecting currency. Like, so let's say you're the Duke. You're like, hey, I'm the Duke, so I'm going to take some taxes, which is unblockable pretty much, right? Unless someone, unless somebody claims that you're not a Duke. They're like, I call bullshit on you being a Duke, which is also a very, very harsh claim, you know? But if you catch somebody, they lose their influence. But if you If they were telling the truth, then you lose influence. You get it? And so then other players can steal from other players. So one person's like, hey, I'm a captain, so I'm jacking your stuff, right? And then someone else could be like, well, I'm an ambassador, and ambassadors block stealing, you know? And the game gets really political real fast, right? Like people start creating alliances. They look, like, why don't we screw this guy together, right now? Because I have a dude, so I won't block you. You could take foreign aid. I won't block you because dukes can block foreign aid. You could totally have as much foreign aid as you want, just as long as you keep assassinating other players, you know? And they're like, it sounds like a deal. But they both could be lying. Both players could be lying about having an assassin and a duke. It's the beautiful thing,
Wait, so how many like classes are there, or is it just
That's
everyone
about
gets the
five.
same?
That's about five. And the game is really well balanced in terms of how that works. And it's just a really fun game that's very simple, but it's like, challenges people. And like board games, a lot of board games are like this, like a lot of, like my friend who's like a board game enthusiast, he's the one that's trying to get me into this. There's like all kinds of really cool games out there. There's another one called Cash and Guns that I'm going to get. It's like the next game that I'm going to get, where you basically play a bunch of bank robbers who just rob the bank, and then you have to decide how you share the loot at the end. And there's like these toy guns that you have, and when the round starts, everybody says 1, 2, 3, and then they point their gun at somebody, right? And then you start to go through the notions of whether you shot that person or not to take the loot. You understand? You can back out of a round or you can't. And then there's an undercover cop mechanic. So one of the people is a cop, and then they have their own mission to try to accomplish. So it's really cool. There's like a lot of these games that revolve around players versus the mechanics, right? Like you look at a game like Call of Duty, you just run and shoot, right?
Yeah.
And the meta's there. There is a meta, which is like how good you are at running and shooting at people, right? And like the way that the guns, like learning the mechanics of the guns. But that's the thing. Like board games have this advantage over video games, which is that you can make very, very simple rules that allow the players to take the fun, like make the fun. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm like a big fan of board games now, because I realized how awesome that is. Um, and there's a lot of games that do that. So for instance, like one thing that I'm doing too is like I'm just like with art, I'm trying to redesign. Like I would do like fan art, so I'm gonna try to redesign Monopoly because Monopoly is garbage. Uh, it's just nobody likes it. Nobody can finish a goddamn game. And anybody that I tell,
What?
like the people are like, "Oh, I love Monopoly," and I'm like,
I was just saying that Monopoly never ends. It just becomes someone arguing and somebody else is cheating and somebody storms off.
yeah, the people that say they love Monopoly usually are the people that win all the time, or the people that are say, oh, but see, me and my family, we play with different rules. Then you're not playing Monopoly. You're playing a game that's modded already. You're not playing the original version. Like straight out of the box, the rules suck, right? In fact, I looked into the history of Monopoly, and Monopoly was actually supposed to be a teaching tool. It was like a political tool that this lady designed to help like the common folk learn about Monopoly that was happening in her city. She was like trying to bring awareness to the actual monopoly that was happening around her, right? Because people didn't understand it, what was going on, which is really interesting. So like for instance, the problem with the game is that like a lot of people, like some people are lucky, some people aren't. It's just how it is, right? So if you're lucky enough to land on all the great properties and have enough money to buy them, and then everyone else is unlucky to land on those properties, like, and the game just lasts forever. And also because nobody can genuinely get bankrupt right away, right? So you get rid of those things. You get rid of those things by changing the rules to what if everyone started off with properties, right? And the way that you determine that is that you just go through property by property. Like you go through sets though, not just like one prop, like the whole set, you know? And be like, you want to buy this set? It's going to cost this much money, you know? Or like, you say, who wants to buy this land or that land or whatever, or this property? You get it? And then when you get to like the more medium tier ones, then you separate the sets. So then people can buy individual properties, and then you go back to the other ones, you know? And in that way, people have an option to bid, and you take the luck out of it. You put the skill into the player's hands. Like, am I willing to spend like literally $1,000 just to have Baltimore, right? Like, no way, right? But I'm willing to give $50. You know what I mean? And so potentially you can get a lot of cheap properties and still have a lot of your currency left, where other players can spend all their money to have very expensive, very valuable locations. You know? So there's already like a good system there, and you start the game with properties. People can start losing money right away, right? And then you have to have an end goal. Like a lot of these new future board games have victory point mechanics, which basically end games. You know, like if you get this much thing, you win, and that's a really good mechanic too. So you need like something like that. Like if someone who owns X amount of properties, or whoever has X amount of currency or money, gets a monopoly, right? And then they win. So there's like two objectives, not just to bankrupt everybody, because it's just like that too is out of your control even if you're skilled, right? It's really out of your control. And that's what I'm learning from all these really good games that I've been playing. So yeah, I think like a lot of these new games are making an emergency because there's a lot more depth to them, and there's a lot more people want to play with each other again. They want to be in the same room. Um, there's something really nice about being in the same room, being able to see the person's facial expression when you lied to them.
Hmm.
I think you also actually get to know a person in a much more
Oh,
real way.
absolutely, yes,
Yeah, it's like I love when people play Cards Against Humanity.
totally,
You can
Oh,
always tell what kind of humor someone has just by like who keeps getting picked and who keeps getting the right
absolutely,
ones, all that sort of stuff.
absolutely.
especially when you add the online cards too, the extreme ones.
Oh God, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, dude. So, and I'm actually getting into it both because I want to develop board games and stuff, but I also want other people. Like, I think artists, we have a unique advantage of creating all the assets, right? We take a really large expense of that industry out. Like 60 to 75% of like their expense is paying artists. So imagine if you learned a little bit of a game design, you can do it. And I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to teach people. Like a lot of my education program is teaching people how to get jobs and how to make portfolios to get jobs. But I'm slowly changing that to teaching people how to um, make their own jobs, because I feel like that's what's happening in in the industry. There's like a paradigm shift that people can create their own content and sell it, you know? And you don't have to ever work for a large company. You could just do it today. Like literally today, you guys could do it. But yeah, so I'm like learning how to teach that so that it's consistent, and that like it's going to happen eventually. One day I'll be able to say, all right, you guys are done with class, now go make money, you know?
Hmm.
But
Yeah, that's like it's sort of happening already with like Patreon and stuff like that, or even Gumroads.
that's what I'm saying. I'm going to start learning how to teach that effectively. So it's not just theoretical. I'm not a big fan of that. I like to teach
Yeah.
practical information, not, theoretical.
Will actually help.
What do you think is going to happen though once you have more and more artists kind of going out on their own and sort of developing the content by themselves?
Uh, what do you
Like
mean?
it's like what would the industry response be?
Um, what would I predict for the industry response if more and more artists go independent?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They'll have to pay artists more money. That's what they have to do. They stop treating a lot of young artists that are naive like shit because they can't, because the artists can make more money on their own. Especially if I'm on the frontier. I'm a pretty big voice in the industry. So once I say this is a thing, trust me, people would start doing it. It happened with the Gumroad. Like I was one of the first people to do Gumroads, and then that whole thing blew up, right? And now there's like tons of great tutorials available for everyone, right? Like the brainstorm, my buddy John Park, he talked to me often about like the whole Gumroad stuff, and he was asking me all advice on like how to work that, how to make money from it, along with like other people. And I told him, I was like, it's not that difficult, but like this is what I got. And the difference between them was that they already had fan bases, they've already built a thing, and I shared their stuff, and it was really powerful movement. And then, when John was building Brainstorm, the Facebook group, I remember he was asking about like what he should do. He should do this or that. Like, should he charge more money on his tutorials? And I was like, no, never do that. I was like, you should just charge the same as you're doing, but use this as an opportunity. And he was just super smart, and he took that and he built this huge audience just from there, and then took it beyond anything that I would have imagined. And then eventually he said, you know what, I'm going to make my own school, like physical school, to compete against Art Center, right? And he did, and it's freaking fantastic. Him and James Pake did that, and it's really phenomenal, you know. And now they're doing stuff that I need to talk to them about. I need to ask advice from them, you know. But like that's the thing, we're all friends, and there's room. Like my classes sell out, you know. Their classes sell out. It's not like we're competing. And even if I had a physical school, like there's physical schools here, like CDA and stuff, and they still don't have a problem selling classes. You know, it just doesn't work that way. Like people don't realize. And that's the same with the content. Just because I bought Call of Duty doesn't mean I'm never going to buy another game ever. Like that's stupid. That's naive, right? Like of course I'm gonna, like, just because I bought this one indie game doesn't mean I'm not gonna buy any other indie games, right? When I bought Coup, I bought like 3 other board games. So I was like, so I want to know more. I want to play other. The opposite happens usually with the consumer mentality. You want to get more, right? And so the way that's going to happen, if you look at like just in history alone, like when you start to um, when people start to get concerned with job security, right? Um, or like some sort of security in general, that basically is just a fear of change. Okay, right? Generally, that's what it is. Like you're not prepared for change and you're afraid of it. Okay, and so if you want to be change proof, like if you want to always be prepared for the next great thing, right? Then put all your time and money into learning how to become good at a global sense. Okay, and what I mean by that is like not learning how to be good at concept art, but learning how to be good at anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like concept art is
Yeah.
just one of those things that you just happen to be good at, but what you learned about how to get good at that is more valuable than actually being good at concept art. Make sense? And that's something that I have, right? I was lucky enough to stumble upon that and then really harness it as I got better, right? But I didn't realize that was going on. I didn't have the foresight and be like, I know this is the right path and I'm going to do it. You know, like nobody generally does, you know, but now I do. I have clearly that foresight, and which is that I learned from concept art that I can learn whatever I want to learn if I put time and effort. And that's what I teach. I teach that consistently throughout my classes. And what I mean by this is that is that when I was young, I used to play guitar, and I got really good at guitar. When I was in track, I was really good at track, really, really good at track. Guitar, I was pretty good, not great, but I was good enough to play in a band, and we did that thing, you know? And then what else did I get good at? Oh, yeah. I got really good at World of Warcraft. Man, I was so good at that game.
Oh shit, what'd you play?
I played every class, but my favorite class was the Rogue. I was so good
Aw,
at that game.
boo.
I was so good at the game. The reason why I stopped playing that game, we'll talk a short story on this. The reason why I stopped playing that game is because stupid Battlegrounds, man. Like I
Oh
played
god, yeah.
vanilla WoW, where Battlegrounds were first. They were trying to fix the PvP problem where people wanted an arena where they can battle each other. Where I didn't like that at all because I liked hunting people and murdering them and
Yeah.
ruining their day. I was the reason why they made that feature. Yeah, the whole reason we even made Battlegrounds to solve the problem that I was causing. But anyway, but I got so good where I was like, I would duel people for hours in front of like Ironforge. I was a Night Elf rogue at the time before I switched to the Undead rogue, which was the best. At least at the time it was. Um, and when I did that, I was like really good. And then when the battlegrounds came, it was clearly like whoever was in a guild that controlled it like would win. It didn't matter. I was guildless because I just would go around murdering people. I had no interest in doing raids. Um, and that was very, very clear to me. It was very upsetting. And because one day I dueled the Grand Master Rogue, right? And all his awesome gear that I wanted so badly, right? I dueled him and beat his ass. And then like people were there and like, oh, what the? And I can't believe it, Aragoth. And I was like, yes, I am the great Aragoth. And they're like, you defeated so and so. Like, no, and he's like Grandmaster, and he's like, oh, all my stuff was on cooldown. I was all right. Let me know when your thing's off cooldown. Then I beat him again, and then he's like, no, like this thing, like something else is on cooldown. I forgot. Whatever. He just excuses, right? And then I was like, you know what? Hold on, I don't have my appropriate gear either. Let me come right back. I went to the bank, came back wearing a tuxedo and an offhand res, and I was using Brutality Blade, which is a level 30 blade, I believe. So I wasn't even using the best weapons and equipment, and he barely almost beat me. I still beat him, you know, and then he clearly had no excuses after that, and I realized armor was garbage, and I didn't really care about the armor anymore. At least back then it was. Now I think it's clearly not the case, but like I thought about it. I was like, who cares if I'm so good at this stupid game, because when I got so good, it's because I would train and I would like duel people for hours in front of Ironforge. I would like watch tons of video tutorials on like how to become really good at that game. You know, I would like live on websites and forums, like reading like the latest builds and stuff. I played every class to level 60 so that I knew how other classes fought a rogue. You know what I mean? Like literally from their perspective, you know? And I just applied that to art. I was like, that's literally what happened. I was like, what if I apply that same mentality to art? Because it kind of worked out for me in music and like with running and stuff like that. And sure enough, it did. And that's when I kind of really just genuinely now stick to that as a thing, you know? And so going back to the whole like the industry changes, what happens when people start making their own money? Not my problem. You know what I mean? Because the companies, they're the ones that are like not paying the artists well enough. If an artist can make not only the same amount of money they can make working for a studio, but potentially more, and it's more satisfying, why would anyone ever want to work for Blizzard or for EA or for whoever, right? Other than just to work on those properties because they're a fan of them, you know? And so for me, I think the problem is more in the hands of the companies, the big companies, because more and more people are going to just make their own projects. I mean, there was a guy who made like a whole game by himself. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, is it the one on Unreal Engine?
Yeah.
The Final
Yeah.
Fantasy one?
I mean, he made it all by himself. Like literally um, made it all by himself. He bought like the assets and stuff from like, the asset store, but like, that's
He put it
smart.
together himself. Yeah.
That's smart. And that goes back to kind of my point. Like, there's like some of you guys may just make assets that people buy and may seem like, well, I don't know if there's money in there. Yeah, dude. What if you sell that asset 400 times for only like $2? Right? That's $800. And if you spent 5 hours of work to do that, right? That's like $200 or like 100 between 100 and $200 an hour, right?
Yeah. I have a friend who's making skins for Counter-Strike Go, and like anytime something gets picked up officially, it makes a ton of money for them.
Yeah. There's like whole businesses around that, sure. Right? I didn't even realize that. You're right. Holy crap, I should get into that. Well, like my point is like I need to learn how and why, and then I'll tell other people. Like I did. There's a thing. There's a website called Roll20 where you basically make like D&D assets. It's basically 2D assets, and I did that, and now I'm in the process of selling them on their little marketplace, right? If it goes really well, then I'm going to tell my students exactly how I did it and how I'm going about it. Um, even I mentioned it to them too. I was like, I have like literally hundreds of students. Like, I want to make sure this goes well. Like, give me the best advice, you can. And then she was just like, hey, make sure all the work's yours. 100% your work. I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna take my students' work. I'm gonna just tell them that they can do it too. I was like, they're gonna just make their own freaking accounts. I'm not gonna touch their money. You know, it's just it's a self-filling prophecy as my school, right? That not only do I teach people, I'll teach people literally how to make money. It's not like that figurative stuff that people will do in books that I read, like how to make money in 5 easy steps, right? Now I'm like, this is literally all I did and you can do it today, you know? Now, will you make a lot of money? No, I don't know, right? And I want this website to be popular. It's only going to get more popular, I'm sure, right? And if it gets more popular, then there's more income for those who start to commit to it, you know? And like what Nick was saying, like there's Patreon, there's like people that just, like you can make your own things even. You don't even have to worry about making stuff for other people, right? Like there's all kinds of avenues that are opening up for everyone. And so, yeah, I'm not too worried about the individual. Like it's also like when people say there's more competition out there, right? Like that's just fear, you know? Like competition has been growing and growing since I've started this whole stuff, you know? And I still get jobs. I still do very well, you know? And like you guys don't understand that it's also like as much as there's competition, there's new opportunities that are coming up that didn't exist before. Patreon is a great example, right? Getting back to Patreon and Gumroads. There was once no no thing like Gumroad or Patreon around for me when I was starting out. You get it? And so some people say, well, maybe I need to be an established artist. Like, no, look at Ross Tran. He totally just made it his own, Came out of nowhere, right? It's
Yeah.
like, as soon as you say you can't do anything, so I tell my kids, as soon as you say you can't do something, then you're right. Nothing I can do to convince you otherwise, right?
Yeah.
So let me know when you're done saying you can't, and then let's talk about how you can, right? Because like that's really like if you really get down to it, like the only one that's ever stopping you guys from doing anything is yourself, right? Unless someone literally has a gun to your parents' head and is like, if you chase your dreams, I swear to God, I'll murder your whole family. And if that's happening,
That's
then
that's when you roundhouse kick
yeah, then I usually ask like, how much do you love your family? You know.
Oh, Jesus.
That's fucking hard, man.
I'm just saying.
I got concepts to make, man. What are you doing? Put the gun down.
But like my point is that
Sorry, mom.
it's clearly a joke. Like there's no one's in that situation, right? I mean, there's people that have real problems, guys. Like Syria just got bombed. You know, you think these motherfuckers are worrying about like half of the stupid stuff that us first world people are worrying about? It's perspective, dude. I usually tell get your head out of your ass for a second. You're like, oh, I don't have enough time. Fucking, you're not being bombed. You have plenty of time. Calm down, right?
There's an interesting thing I found with the clock thing. There's a stopwatch auction, and I put it on, and I just have it run every time I'm actually drawing or designing. And it's interesting to see at the end of the day how much of the day I used to actually paint versus what I thought I was doing.
Absolutely. People, if you don't time yourself, that's why I tell people time yourself often, because you think that you have no time, but you realize you have more than enough time. I had a friend,
Yeah.
I had a friend who was just like, I have no time, no time. And then he had a kid, and he was like, dude, I had so much time. I was like, yep. When you have kids, your time evaporates real fast, right? And it's just so funny. Trust me, guys. Like whatever excuses you may think you have, like you're allowed to have them, but you're just not allowed to keep having them. You know? because that means you're not making a change to it, and then that's just you having a pity party. Yeah, I don't have time. I don't have time to deal with pity parties. But so yeah, getting back to kind of the whole point of like making your own content, making your own money, that's totally a thing, guys. You know, and you'll be shocked at how simple it is. Now, will it happen overnight? No, man. Of course not. It could, but most likely not. But will it happen given time? Of course. No doubt. No doubt in my mind. All right?
Yep.
I don't have any doubts for any of you guys. Seriously, no matter what level you think you're at, like you can totally achieve it. I promise. It's just you got to stay consistent. Remember, put all your talent points into patience and resilience, not into motivation and inspiration. Because motivation and inspiration is like a shooting star, right? It comes and goes, but resilience and like persistence, that's where you want to put your money, right? Because no matter how shitty your day is, no matter how bad you think your artwork is, the simple fact that if you just keep drawing, you're going to get better, you know? That's all you really need to worry about. If you're not sure, if you don't believe me, just take a look at your work a year ago. Take a look at your work 2 years ago and ask yourself, is your work worse today? And the answer is most likely no. Your work is probably way better. Or in fact, I'm for certain your guys' work is much better today than it was 2 or 3 years ago, right? So there's like literally evidence in your own work that the more you draw, the better you get. And that, like, going back to like the whole teaching yourself things that are valuable, like that's like giving yourself profound skills and things like this, like knowledge that allows you to get past stupid stuff that may stop you or slow you down. And you know, like, and here's the thing, like you don't have to be going full octane like every time too. Like that's the problem that I see a lot of times. Students go full hardcore mode. You know, take it one step at a time. It's not about like going full speed. It's just about staying and maintaining a certain speed, right? Because if you maintain a speed, then that means you're getting somewhere. You have a time to get to your destination, versus just like I'm just gonna sprint for a couple weeks, like draw like a maniac, and then don't draw for like a week. Versus like drawing consistently every day. There's much more power there because there's gonna be days when you're going to be inspired, right? And if you have the consistent process of drawing and working, and then those days that you're inspired, you're going to move like a freight train. But then when you're not inspired anymore, you're going to come back to your baseline, which is already a really good and well-oiled locomotion, a well-oiled machine. Yeah, does that make sense? So have your baseline constantly be in motion is what I'm trying to get at. But anyway.
You know what I
Anyway,
think?
what's up?
You gotta run for president, dude.
Well, we'll see if we'll still have we'll see if America's still around. I'm probably gonna move. To be honest, I'm probably just not gonna be in America by the time that I could probably be president.
You're gonna be in Mars, dude?
No, I'll probably be in
Good
Switzerland.
buddy.
Switzerland's probably gonna be the best country in the world by that time.
You better run for president
My,
over
my
there.
good
Then.
buddy Robert, my good buddy Robert did that. He actually moved to New Zealand a few years ago,
Sweet.
and because he like had 2 kids and was just like, all right, I think it's getting crazy for me. And New Zealand has awesome VFX stuff going on all the time.
Well,
So,
that's the thing. Like, it doesn't matter because the internet. Like,
oh yeah,
as long as I have 10 megabits upload speed, right? I
yeah,
I can teach and make gumroad classes anywhere in the world.
yeah,
It's like what Craig Mullins
yeah.
did.
Yeah, I my whole business relies on just the internet. So as long as the
So
internet exists, like I can't go to like rural
yeah.
areas in Africa, but
Well, he also
but
he
there's
also teaches. Oh
yeah.
wait, we have internet in Africa. Just so you
No,
know,
I said rural
throw that out
areas.
there.
Like
In rural areas,
even
satellite.
okay. I'm just
Yeah,
saying, dude.
that's how
As
contact, my
far as I'm
friend.
concerned, it might not be as good as the internet right now, but I could be wrong. I'm not. I'm
Probably
very
not. Yeah,
ignorant.
yeah.
I've never been to Africa.
Oh yeah, you should
I'm
go.
not.
It's
I'm
beautiful.
not trying to say that Africa
No,
doesn't
no,
have
I know, I
internet.
know, I know what you mean. I know what you meant.
I'm just saying it might not have the best internet.
Yeah.
Because there's more people on this planet that have more cell phones than running water. So,
Oh yeah.
so I believe that there's probably internet there. Well, the guy that is like the world champion in from Kenya in javelin learned everything from YouTube, but he had to go to like
Yeah.
an internet cafe. He didn't have it at home. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Like I think
Yeah,
I could.
there's a kid who figured out how to make. He started his own radio station using people's discarded cell phone parts
That's
because
what
of
I'm
some
saying.
stuff he learned
There's
at an
people that
internet
are just
cafe.
super smart, man. They're like, and the internet's making these smart people have access to people that are willing to pay for this their smart consulting. You know,
Mm.
that's all I'm getting at. And so, like, you guys can do that too. I don't see why you can't. Anyway, is there any questions outside of our
Yeah.
discussion?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go for
Sorry,
it.
I had a bunch and it's kind of off topic of what we're talking
No,
about
that's
here, so I
fine.
didn't want to like.
No,
um,
now's the time. Let's do it.
yeah. So this is more like AAA and those bigger companies. So I had asked Anthony yesterday. I think this was the first one. I've got a ton, so I'll let people take turns because this can
No,
go for a while.
ask all your questions, and then let's see if there's parallels. There
Cool.
might be.
The first one that I'd asked him in chat was I noticed that over the years like Blizzard has become more and more playful, like more and more cartoony is too harsh I think because they still do badass epic stuff. Um, but somebody who came from like Warcraft 2 and StarCraft, I had asked him like, is there a place for me if I want to do like gritty shit, like the old Diablo, you know, kind of what Wei Wang and Peter Lee does. Those just really dark kind of epic landscapes and this kind of thing. And Anthony had said, probably not.
Yep.
But
I worked there, and that's the kind of stuff that I was into, and
yeah,
I didn't get a chance to do that. The closest thing I got was the StarCraft cinematic, and I was
yeah,
there for about a year and a half. That was only about 6 months worth of work. So there's plenty of other stuff I did for that company that was nowhere near like that. It was really, it just wasn't there. I was happy doing it though. I enjoyed it. It just no, it's not. It's just Blizzard. Just to answer that question right now, Blizzard's not that company. You know, like Diablo 3 looks nothing like what it should have. You know,
yeah, yeah.
um,
Like,
and I think that's changing. I think after Overwatch, they realize they can kind of have some different style, right? Like Overwatch is more playful for sure, but it's not like definitely like Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft were all kind of looking like the same, you know?
mhm,
And
mhm,
Overwatch came in like freight train and was just like, no, we're not the same, even though it's still playful.
yeah,
So I know
yeah,
the Diablo team is working on something right now. I don't think it's Diablo, but it's something really like it's going to be different, completely
mhm,
different. And I think this is their opportunity to kind of get back to dark space, but I haven't been there, so I have no idea.
yeah,
I'm rooting for that, but I have no access to that information anymore. So
yeah.
go ahead. What's your next question?
So the like a day in the life of the concept artist. Like how do briefs usually go? I mean, do you get like, hey, we need a weapon, blah, 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 blah. Like, how are the different ways that you could get an assignment across your desk, I guess, and what sort of time frame? I think Blizzard is kind of the exception of the rule across the board, but, like,
So I
yeah.
can answer this question right now. Like, just assume that you need to get stuff done in a reasonable amount of time. If you can do stuff for my class, then you can. If you can keep up in my class, then you can keep up pretty much at any studio.
Okay.
Some studios will be a lot harder. Other studios will be a lot easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But relatively, it just depends on who you're working for and where you're working for. So the answer is not a very easy one because some studios will give you months to work on one design, and
Oh,
other
man.
studios will give you days to work on one design.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it all depends on who you're working for.
Mhm.
So I always lean on the more on the fast side, like try to learn how to do things quicker than slower.
Mhm. Yeah. I think that was more like a curiosity, like, all of a sudden are you in the fast lane where it's like, yep, like, we needed it yesterday, blah, 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 because,
Yeah, that happens. Yeah, it
yeah,
happens. Yep.
yeah. Um, Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
another question? Go for it. Let's knock them all out.
yeah. So I guess, and this is, I think, a two-parter kind of a thing. I think two of these kind of overlap. But I guess like the difference in the production phase and the blue sky phase of like game development. Um, how did you feel in both of those situations? And B, do all artists get to take part in that blue sky phase? I've heard that like only the senior best artists get to play around with the cool ideas, and then it's kind of like, well, I hope you like drawing faces for 4 years because that's what you're doing, or doors or cars or something. Um,
Yeah, that's
the
very accurate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, think of it like this, like if you come in there and they hired you to do blue sky stuff, then get ready to do blue sky stuff. You can ask like what you're going to be doing. They're going to tell you. They can't be like, we're not going to tell you. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like you're an employee, you're not a slave. And so you can ask, and if it doesn't sound interesting, then you can leave. For instance, the last studio that I worked for, they were like, yeah, there's a chance that we're going to work on some cool stuff, but right now, there's a lot of service stuff that we need to do too. And they warned me of that. And sure enough, when I started working there, it was just service stuff, and kind of got bored of it. And I was like, all right, well, I'm out of here, guys. What do you
What do
mean by
you?
blue sky? Well, blue sky means like we have no idea what this project is. You create all the visuals. Let's have a party. Like there is no clear sight and view of the project. It's like being a part of Overwatch before we knew what Overwatch looked like, or even what the game was like, right?
So it's like brainstorming.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it's just like really
Like
open-ended. But here's the problem. I actually do not like the blue sky period at all. I thought I would, but I've been in it twice, and I actually don't think it's that fun. Um, because it's not, for one, it's usually not my idea, and two, um, people are so indecisive at that stage, and it's very frustrating actually. Like,
Yeah.
because
Well,
you'll do all this.
isn't it kind of like they don't know what they want until they see it? So
Yeah,
you're
it's
throwing
rough, man. It's the
everything at the
worst.
wall.
It's the worst, man. And because, like, for instance, when I worked on God of War, like I knew what I had to do, and it was so much fun. Like it was like there was an element of like blue sky. Like I had to design the last boss or like this really epic enemy, but like it was God of War. Like it had to be Greek, and like that limitation. And I'm starting to realize limitations are very, very fun. You know, and and when I worked
challenge.
at when I worked at this one studio where they were like, you're gonna visually design everything for this game, and I was like, sweet. And I would do it, and then they would just like never get to me. They're like, that's cool, but we're not sure yet. Like, just keep going, just keep exploring. And I just kept painting and painting, and then nothing ever came from it. And it was just like imagine you're gonna be there for years before something can actually start being put to paper or put to engine. I mean, you know, where like when I was working on God of War, like as soon as that concept was done, bam, it was modeled and it was put in, it was animated, and it was like right away super gratifying. You know?
Yeah.
Now like does blue sky is still fun, of course, like being open and free. Like at the end of the day, you're still just drawing monsters and characters, right? So it's still a lot of
Yeah.
fun. Contextually, like we were just talking about like bombing in Syria. There could be much worse things to worry about than my creativity being open range or not, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, but my point, like contextually speaking, if I had to choose, I would choose being constrained when working with others. Okay, because then it's easier to get stuff done and it's like fun. It's a different kind of challenge that I actually do enjoy. Um, now blue sky stuff, I keep for myself. Like this monster that I'm drawing, like I'm the art director and I say it's cool. We're done here. you know, like I don't have to work on this anymore. I'm done. If I want to, I can. If I want to make a series of these guys, like these are fun to draw, I want to draw more, then I can. If I don't want to anymore, like if I'm sick of my own stuff, then I can stop. You know what I mean? That's where if you want to get that Like, if you truly want to get that opportunity to work on things that are yours, don't do it. Don't rely on a company to do that for you. That's just not going to happen anytime soon. I mean, it can happen. Don't get me wrong. Like, you could totally work for a studio that's a small studio. They haven't decided on anything. They hired you because they saw really cool work, and then you jump in there and everything you're doing is amazing, and then you established a new style for the next greatest game, and you're like a hero amongst the community. Yeah, that's very far and few between. It's not impossible. Um, it's just better just to do it on your own anyway. And most likely to get even into that position that I was just even talking about was because you have like a personal work out there that's already very attractive, that people were already attracted towards. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, I mean, that's why I always tell people, like, in your portfolio, draw what you want to draw because that's what you're going to get hired for.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's actually one of the next questions. Is like, because if you're going in for whatever, like Infinity Ward or something, you know, you obviously wouldn't put, like forest fawns in there and this kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
But should your portfolio consist of, like, not the style that the company is into, but for instance, like, this would be a better example. So with like Paizo Publishing, say, like a lot of their stuff is, I mean, it's really cool. Like all those designs are really neat, but they're a little safer, I think.
Wait, say
So
again?
if I went to with Paizo Publishing, like
Okay.
all of their designs, yeah, sorry.
Wait, hold on. I think my wife was calling me. Hold on just a second. Oh yeah, I think my daughter's crying. Give me 1 second. Five minutes.
Yeah.
Paizo Publishing. We publish
We publish Paizo.
The official jingle.
Yeah.
I wrote it myself right after I wrote Never Gonna Give You Up.
Good. Putting in the work.
Yeah. I have a question now too.
No.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Gonna be huge.
It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be the greatest question. My questions are the greatest questions you've ever heard. Nobody asks questions like me.
What is a question?
If you ask what brush he's using, ultimate question. I will
That's
find you, man.
actually the greatest question anyone
And I
has
will
ever
kill
asked.
you.
When he gets back, everyone just keep asking that question.
Like, Adrian, before you continue, what brush is that?
Dude, somebody should totally ask that. I want to see what he says.
Yeah.
Probably like just like quit the chat. All right, well that's it.
Like, all right, then
Call it a night, boys.
it's game over for everybody.
Yeah.
What?
Game over, man.
That's it.
Game over, man. Game over, man.
Class 2 is like, I hope you guys do well on your own.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, fucking Google it, because I'm not gonna.
I'm just gonna refund the rest of this shit. You guys.
No, thanks for the $450.
Yeah. And then we have Taviso to thank for not knowing anything more.
Ah, damn it. My bad,
Now you
guys.
know,
My
man.
bad.
Hello?
Ah, as long as I know what brush it is.
All right, continue. Paizo.
Yeah.
Somebody ask it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it.
What brush are you using, AJ?
Oh, I just made a brush out of nothing. Just like, I don't know if there's a name for it. Just a round brush.
You're
Soft
supposed
brush.
to get frustrated, man.
Nah, I don't get frustrated with that.
Will that brush make me a better artist, man?
It will. It will. But I'm not going to give it to you.
Wait, continue with your question so I can ask mine after.
What type of water do you drink?
Coconut water.
God damn.
Will that make me better?
Keep them coming. I can answer all these. No, like, let's finish the last question that was there. So we got to end the
Yeah.
class pretty soon too, actually.
Yeah. So the thing with if because it's very much like draw what you want to get the job that you want, that kind of a thing.
Yes.
But suppose like my designs, they're not totally abstract or crazy, But suppose like, just for example's sake, I really want to work for Paizo for the rest of my life. Um, and their designs are more, they're not like boring, but they're pretty safe most of the time. Like actually, Paizo's designs are safe, that kind of thing. If I came in with, say, designs that were really unique and had so much narrative and I mean, they weren't batshit crazy or anything, but would that still get me a job if the company is, again, say, like with most AAA companies, like they played a little safer, that kind of thing? And if I come in with a portfolio with all this crazy stuff, again, it's not like abstract and Pink Floyd, like The Wall or anything, but
Uh-huh.
do you get what I'm getting at here? Like,
Yeah, I think there's a
it's,
different question though hidden behind this
mm,
question. Is like,
mm.
how, like, are you afraid of not getting a job?
I guess I'm afraid
Because
of, you know,
no, go
I
ahead.
guess I'm afraid of, like, basically almost overshooting design-wise. Suppose they're still marketable, they're still like digestible designs, but like, um, hmm,
Yeah, it sounds
I
like you're
guess
afraid
the
of not getting a job. Because what if Pike
yeah,
doesn't want to hire you because of that?
right,
What
right.
if Blizzard
I
doesn't want to
guess
hire
yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah.
What if Activision? Well, like it's unfortunate, but they're not going to hire you regardless. You
Yeah.
know, it doesn't matter whether it's super detailed or super crazy. They're not going to
Hmm,
hire you or even think about hiring you if your work's not even good,
right.
right?
I guess maybe
And
that's the
so,
question is like,
yeah, and so what you're distracted by, like you're distracted by the lack of opportunities, which is really foolish. Okay, but I get it. I was like that too, right? But I'm telling you right now, you're being a fool. Calm down. Because, for instance, I can never work for Pixar. That opportunity can never happen for me with the current portfolio that I have today. Like, you think they're gonna hire me to do Finding Nemo 3 with this motherfucking monster? No, right? But guess who might hire me? Like all these freaking companies that do freaking crazy creepy monsters, right?
Konami.
Konami. I would love working on them. Well, no, never mind. They're terrible to their employees.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
would,
say, Jesus
I
Christ,
would,
no.
or Kojima. That's the person, right? I'd rather
Yeah,
work with
Kojima.
Kojima.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Capcom for Resident Evil.
see, you start to see what's happening, right? Edge of Nowhere, Insomniac. If you guys have VR, play this game. All the monster designs are me.
Oh shit.
They hired me. They said, you do cool monsters. Can you do monsters for us? And I said, yes. Yes, I can.
Wait, is it out now or is it in
Yeah,
like?
it's out. And I can show you guys the artwork too, because it's out.
Yes, please.
So like, here's the thumbnails that I did.
Oh.
Here's more thumbnails. Here's more thumbnails. This is the first day batch of thumbnails that I sent them. And then based off of the thumbnails, I did a sculpt. And I made like a VR room where you can actually see these things because the game is VR. And this is like the first 2 weeks of working there. I did all this stuff,
Oh man.
right? And they're like, dope. Can you do more? And I said, yes. So I kept doing more, and there's more and more and more and more. And I have to get back. Someday I have to sit down and actually put it down and put it in front of people. You know, I did like the Cthulhu monsters they have in the game.
Oh,
Because this is the kind of shit I draw, dude. You know what I mean?
mhm,
So like the problem that I have with these types of questions, you're just like you're asking like this and that, and I think the problem is you're teaching yourself how to be a worker, and I promise you, when you become a worker, you're gonna not like it. Okay, like I don't know anybody who's just like I'm finally here. And I'm glad that I'm working at Paizo, but I'm doing crates. Fuck yeah, like nobody, man. Like most people are like like literally all my friends are like looking for the next big job. Like where else do I need to work? My good friend Oakley, he was working at on Evolve for like 5 years, and pretty much they let him do whatever, man. He did what he wanted to do, which is just creatures and monsters. That's all he
he's got
does.
some pencils, right?
Yeah, it's like all he does, and he got bored of it. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
so like So I always tell people, if you want to not be bored of artwork, then do it for yourself. Don't worry about the job, right? But if you want a job, then just draw what people want you to draw. That's not hard, man. It's not hard to draw Call of Duty. If you want to work for Call of
Yeah.
Duty, just draw Call of Duty. And it might take you 2 years or 3 years to have a portfolio that's that good, you know? But you'll get hired, man. There's no doubt, man. No doubt, you know?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of like I'm kind of like figuring out the question as I go, but I guess that's one of the big ones is because I think I got it a little bit wrong or didn't relay it quite correctly is that could you come in with basically high like crazy amazing
Yes. Yes or
concepts
no.
and
Yes and no. Like I'm trying to tell you, like I'm telling you the answer is yes and no. Like maybe Paizo is not hiring because they don't have a position. Maybe they're hiring people that are doing something new. I have no clue. I don't work for these companies. I don't know every single company. But what you can count to be true is the quality of your work and the people you know. These are the only things you can control. You can't all these questions you're asking. Nobody has the answers. Not even the hiring team probably has the fucking answer for you. You know, like the people that actually work at the company probably have no answers to answer that question. You know, like I can tell you in a bold statement, like if they are looking for apples and you're drawing oranges, then obviously like those are obvious, right? So if you have a pretty like for instance, working at Call of Duty, I can't work there either. That's pretty obvious, you know?
Obvious.
Because I don't have anything that proves that I can work there. But working at Blizzard, that was a little bit easier because even though I didn't have anything that was exactly Blizzard, I had enough to say I could do something with. They can see that I can push the envelope a little bit, you know? And the cinematics team made the most sense, right? And so like I always tell people like have a job, like let's say that company Paizo, right? Like look at them as a place that you would like to work at, as a quality control for your artwork. You know? That's actually good to do. That's very good. That's a very smart thing to do, right? Because now you're objectively gauging a professional quality of work with your work. Yeah? But will that guarantee you a job there? No. But does that mean you can never work there? That's also a no. Like if you really want to work there, if that's something that you truly dream for, that's something that you truly want, you can get there, man. Absolutely. Right? Like I know too many people that have done that. You know,
yeah.
too many different people, all kinds of different personality types. I know introverts, I know extroverts that have worked at Blizzard. You know, I know people who are super outspoken like me, and some people who are super soft spoken. I know people who are from different countries, people from California. You know, that got to work at Blizzard. People that had really amazing work, and people that had work that even I think some of my students had better work. You know. So it's just a matter of circumstances, like all the planets aligning kind of thing, sure. But it's not that much. It's not a lot of luck, is what I'm trying to get at, right? If you truly try to for it, you can eventually get there, you know? Um, but the grass is always greener is kind of my point, you know? Like when people start to get there, they start feeling differently about it, okay?
Yeah.
It's something that no school teaches their students is what to do once you get there, right? Nobody prepares you for that. And that's what I'm trying to prepare you for, is when you get there. You know? I'm literally tell you, don't try to get a job. You know? I'm trying to tell you, make great artwork because you'll get the jobs that you want. You might not even realize that there's a company that you would love to working for. I never had Sony Santa Monica in my sights ever. Right? I love God of War, but I never thought that I would work there. And when they approached me, I was like, yeah, totally. You know, it's like I'm a big fan of the game, which is true. But I wasn't like, oh yeah, I know everything about. I did all my research as soon as I got approached, right? But before then, it wasn't like that, right? And then when I worked there, um, it became a fantasy of mine just to work there for so much longer because I got introduced to some of my favorite artists. I got to work with amongst some of the best artists, and I learned a lot. You know what I mean? Same experience happened when I worked at a really small studio where nobody knew. When I was able to work with my friends and have a lot of fun and learn what it was like to just kind of be free and draw my own stuff. I learned what that was like, with my own time. Right? And then working at Blizzard was great because it showed me it doesn't matter how big the company is, there's always flaws, right? And Blizzard probably was the best company I've ever worked for, and I loved working there, but I was still doing service work. The only thing that I was truly proud of out of all the stuff that I really did there was the StarCraft stuff. And that was like not even half the time that I was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I did like paint overs of like the Heroes of the Storm like backgrounds, you know, like 3D screens. I just did like color corrections. Like that was part of my professional work there. You understand? But I was at Blizzard Entertainment. Like some of these people become rock stars like Wayne Wei and Laura Austin, but that's because they stayed there and they loved it and they don't have any reservations of leaving. You know, they are happy with what they want and do. They got hired primarily for their just unique but very um, similar aesthetic work. You know what I mean? Like their work was already kind of right there with Blizzard. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Eye of the Storm was like right there. There was not a lot of nudge. You know, they are already kind of at that level of what Blizzard is expecting from good artists at their studio. You know what I mean? It's the same thing I felt like about like Mr. Jack, like when he got hired on the StarCraft team. Like he was already doing like stuff that they would absolutely want, you know, for StarCraft, right? And so like it made sense. And that happens, you know, sometimes like, but I had like a really good friend who worked at Blizzard and he worked on the cinematics team or the creative dev team and he hated it. And then now he's over at the Overwatch team and he loves it. You know, that happens like internally at Blizzard. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in this class, but like I always wanted to work for the WoW team, even though my stuff doesn't really fit in that style because just the people, man, like they're so much fun. I used to hang out with them at lunch, go to work out with them, you know, they're just like really fun people. And I'd rather work with fun people than just work on fun art, right? And so, because I can always do the kind of artwork I like when I'm at home, you know? I don't need someone to pay me to do it. And so getting back to kind of the root of those questions and just try to like really get you to have a better sight of what you need to start focusing on. And really the key is to work on stuff that you actually care about. Okay? Don't worry if it's like too fantasy or too like, oh, I don't know if they're going to like it or not. Like if you really like stuff that is a little bit not pushed, like if you like things a little bit closer to the chest, then do that, but be the best at it, you know? So then maybe the company like them will hire you, or maybe a different company that is even better than them decides to reach out to you. Like the guys at Witcher maybe reach out to you because they're more realistic, right? Right? Like you're looking at it as like, how do I increase my odds? The best way to increase your odds is having fantastic artwork. You know?
Yeah, I guess like that's where I was like, oh, maybe that's not actually what I'm quite saying. It was more like, could you get denied a job
Yeah,
that you were into because it was just too much? Like,
sure.
I guess that's what the question really was. Like,
Yeah, okay, so
yeah,
let's like I feel like you're still attached to that question. So let's just play it out. Let's say that they're looking at your portfolio and they saw something in your portfolio and they're like, "Oh, this is too crazy. We're not going to hire him." Like let's say that happened. So what are you going to do now? What's the next step?
I mean, apply elsewhere. I don't know.
No, like what are you that's it? You're just going to apply elsewhere? You're not going to change your whole art style just to appease that one client? No, right? See, it's ludicrous. Do you see now what
Yeah,
I'm trying to get at? Like
yeah,
just because one company says no, that should not dictate everything that you hold dear. Because I'm sorry to break it to you, you're gonna get a lot of no's, man. You know what I mean? Like if I had a freaking dollar for every time I got rejected because I didn't have this in my portfolio, because I freaking didn't have environments in my portfolio. I can't believe how many times they were telling me I didn't have environments in my portfolio. No, you need more environments. I was like, all right, cool, dude. I don't want to do environments though. Um, I can't believe like, oh, you need more 3D, you need more of this, you need more of that. If I had a dollar for every time those types of conversations happen, I could retire. You know what I mean? Like, like it's gonna happen, dude. Don't be so stressed out on that one occurrence because that one example, that one company that might not like you. Fuck them, dude. Like, who cares if they don't like your art stuff? Um, don't fuck them. Like I'm trying to talk trash to these companies. I'm sure they're great people. I'm just saying, like, their criticism can be very genuine. Like they can tell you that, like, I love critiques. When I would ever get critiques, they'd be like, you know, your stuff is great, but it doesn't fit here. You know who you should apply for? These are the companies. Like those are some really good hiring managers and recruiters that understand the scope of their own games and projects, right? That they can like acknowledge the talent of an artist, but at the same time, you know, be able to respectively turn them down, right? Because no one's gonna. I just can't imagine. I don't know where this is coming from. Like I just can't imagine, dude. Right? Think about it. Like what they're like. They're no one's gonna say to you like, how are you gonna get that information, right? That they're gonna like, hey, you know, we didn't hire you by the way because your style is just too far fetched. It's like not exactly what we're looking for. This is like, let me show you diagram A, B, and C. This is exactly the kind of artwork that we're looking. You know, and that almost never happened to me in my whole career. You know, where people like literally laid out what they're looking for. You know, but like you did a good job already analyzing that by just looking at the kind of stuff that comes out from them, right? That's the best way to find out. Because even like I said, dude, some of their hiring managers don't even know.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's crazy to think that that's true. Trust me, man. You know, just because they have some money doesn't mean they know how to spend it. And so, like I always tell people, I always like I said, give practical advice. And like the kinds of answers that I could give to answer those questions would not be practical. You know, and you're gonna hear people answer those things like, well, you need to do this and that and that and this, right? You're gonna need to do this and this and that. And some of them are going to be right and some of them are going to just be far off and it's going to be really confusing. You know, you're going to be so confused. Trust me, man, I've been there, right?
Yeah.
The best piece
Yeah.
of advice I ever got in my whole career and it came from a Blizzard mixer when I went to a Blizzard mixer. The best advice I ever got was a guy told me, he said, you know, looking at your artwork, you know, there's a lot of cool stuff in here, but the thing that's missing is that it's not inspiring, right? He said, if you're like every piece of artwork in here is just like an orc holding a sword or an axe or like a mountain, nothing really cool. There's no places I want to go, no players I want to play, no monsters I want to fight, you know? And then he told me, he's like, you know, when you make artwork, if you want to be a concept artist, like the role of a concept artist is that your artwork should be so good that it inspires a whole team of other artists, right? Like the modelers, the texture artists, the other concept artists, the animators, even people that aren't concept artists, people that are programming it, they want to look at that and they're like, I can't wait to program. I can't wait for this. I can't wait to play this, you know? And that was the advice he gave to me. And that was one of the most pivotal advices because after that, because before then I was following like all of my instructors' advice of like, you need more environments. You need to show 3D. You need to show that you know how to do basic rigging, right? Because your chances of getting that job are going to be increased. And you know, because it's a freaking circus, dude. They're taking your money, teaching you things. They're giving you a map that leads you nowhere. You understand? And all that like this, our whole education system has been training us this way. You understand? And so you have to start getting past that. And and so worrying about getting jobs is one of those things. Like I'm not saying that you should not be worried, right? Making a living is important. Okay, I'm not trying to downgrade the importance of making a living. I'm trying to say that you can totally get there without losing track. Like you're going to get there faster too if you have laser focus. You know, if you say I know exactly that I want to work for Blizzard Cinematics, like that is where I want to work, and you make work that caters to that team, you're gonna have amazing artwork much faster, whether you get the job there or not. You know, versus like should I try a little bit more fantasy because I think my chances will be a little bit decreased, or should I stay a little bit more realistic because my chance you see how fickle that is versus like I draw weird monsters that have blue skin and tumors everywhere. That's what I do because I love doing that, and if people want to pay me to do that, awesome. Right?
Yeah.
And people have paid me to do that my whole career. Literally. Like I designed the stuff in StarCraft, the main race, the super race, the Zelnaga, and they're just giant tumor whales. Seriously.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? The Protoss's face are like tumors. Couldn't wait to do that. And I like sci-fi armor too, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, it just,
Yeah.
you don't want to get distracted with how to get the job. You want to stay focused on how to make your work undeniably good that nobody else, like you are the expert, you know? Like, here's a good example of what laser focus looks like. And then we're going to answer another question, all right?
Yeah.
We have plenty of time too. If there's more questions, I'm sure these are great questions. I'm glad you're asking them because like these are the kinds of questions that are barrier breaking, right? And so like we have next class. If you have more questions you want to pan out throughout the class, please ask more. Anyways, but we're gonna ask. I think some other people had some other questions I want to answer. But here's a good example of laser focus. His name is Vitaly Bogorov. If you haven't heard of him, good night, Lila. Love you. Love you, mamas. Be good, okay? Here, I'll put his name into the chat so you can find it. Okay, so if you see what this guy does, do you see what I'm looking at? Do you see this image?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you think this guy has a hard time getting jobs?
No.
Do you think he's going to have a hard, like, yeah, he might not be able to work for Paizo, right? Oh, well. Oh, well. Instead, he's making real robots with a Korean engineering team. You know what I mean? He makes enough money that he could take 3-month sabbaticals. Oh, well, he's not making illustrations for Paizo Publishing. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you're
Yeah.
focused on the, like, he said, I am going to be the greatest goddamn mech designer in all of the industry. And he made that true. There's no one that I know that's truly better than him. Understand?
Yeah.
This is what laser focus looks like. I wish I had this much focus. Like I'm trying to teach it to you. Like you don't have to have 100%, but if you just have enough, you can get pretty far, right? Like, but this is what 100% laser focus looks like. He even had like a whole section on characters and vehicles and all that stuff. Like he got rid of that. Just mechs, just robots. I think he has stuff in his personal work that's a little bit more character driven. No, yeah, he got rid of most of it. Because he worked on Gears of War, or he worked on the Unreal Tournament and Gears of War and stuff like that. He doesn't have any of that stuff in here anymore, I don't think. Right?
Yeah.
He just has the stuff that like has really high accreditations. Like, look, I worked on all these fucking Blizzard titles, but he doesn't even put the artwork that he did for them. See that? Like,
Yeah.
he did. Like, he has artwork, but he didn't even put it up. Like, he has the StarCraft stuff because what is that? More mechs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So stay true to yourself, man, because you're going to be happier for it, and you're going to be making money eventually doing it.
Yeah.
You just got to have patience, man. Like, you don't, like, here's a truth, man. Once you get a job, you start running out of time, dude. Even if it's an art job. You think you're going to have, like, once I have a job, I'll just work my way through it. Trust me, man. It's not that simple, okay? In fact, it's better now while you're still trying to get the job, right? Because you have all this time and you have this opportunity to really focus, you know? But when you start working for a living and you're like, you come home creatively drained, which happened to me, you know? Then you have to start teaching yourself how to just become self-motivated.
That's actually my question, kind of.
Yeah, and that self-motivation is really hard to do. That's why I was talking about patience and resilience is the tools that you want to put your time and money into, nothing else.
Yeah.
Because people like say, well, I don't feel inspired. Like, how do I get better? It's like, just draw anyway. With the simple fact that it doesn't matter whether you feel inspired or not. The fact that you're drawing is you're getting better, right? Do you believe that?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The beautiful thing about that is whether you believe it or not, it's still true. That's the beautiful thing about facts, right? Doesn't matter what you believe. It's just it's just the truth. So anyway, yeah, hopefully that helps you out, man. Gives you a better frame of mind. Like, don't get distracted with that kind of stuff, man. It's very distracting, you know, to your growth. Just stay focused. Like, If you don't want to draw over the top stuff, I ask of that because it is a lot of fun. It really is, and then it's also just a great way to make your work unique and yours, right?
Right.
To truly
See,
challenge
I
yourself.
love it. I mean, that's like I love the big ideas and that kind of thing. So that's what made me
Yeah, and if you're
skittish.
just afraid that you're not going to get to work on the next Call of Duties, trust me, you're not missing out.
Yeah.
Okay, you're fine.
Um,
All right. So someone else had a 360 question. I'll answer that really easily, actually. If you go to my website, um, and if you go to, I believe, resources, and then you just download the 360 PSD right here,
Mhm.
and then that's it. You just
Sweet.
whatever you put into that PSD, you save it out as a JPEG, and you can put it up on Facebook. GG.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm gonna put together a Gumroad and talk about kind of the parameters of how to do it well, and how to like potentially make compositions in it because I think it's still a very new media or new outlet of telling stories. So
Yeah, I've seen a lot of it, and it just looks really interesting for a
so
storytelling
cool, dude.
perspective, especially with VR coming up, where it's going to be more mainstream.
Sure.
I just have another side question. For working on this, throughout all this, for iterations, final render, all that stuff, should we stick strictly to Photoshop, or do you have anything against using 3D as a
Oh
mock-up?
no, I don't like. So let's be clear. That's a great question. Um, However you guys finish your artwork is up to you. It's just got to be good. I'll just
Okay.
tell you that it's garbage. You need to go back to Photoshop. Um, but I'm sure that's not the case. And if it's something you really want to get good at, then I can help you try to get good at it. I had a
Okay.
student once who's like felt 100% more comfortable in 3D, right? And they were struggling with the 2D stuff. And I told him, I was like, just do everything in 3D. And then his work got like leaps and bounds better, and he felt way more comfortable. And I showed him stuff like Vitaly Bogorov, and I was like, he does everything in 3D. It's like you took my class because you believe in my instruction, right? You trusted
Yeah.
my ability to teach you to get you through this, and you want to be a better character designer. That's all we need to worry about. It's not a Photoshop class.
Okay, yeah, I was just
It's about
curious because
teaching you guys to become artists.
I just found like for me, I find it a lot easier to design in 3D, but I think that's more of like I feel like I'm sculpting in that, and it's easier for me to see what I'm sculpting, so it becomes more process based versus when it's 2D. I find it a lot like I try and do the same mentality and like sculpting, cutting out forms and stuff like that, but I don't get the same volume I think I'm getting like I do in 3D, like I know I'm getting. Like if like for example, if I go to paint a skull, I'll do everything I know about a skull, but it doesn't look like it should be like what I know it should be. But I'll go in 3D and I'll cut it out, and it looks exactly how it should be because it's exactly how I know how the caverns are, the
Yeah,
faces, all that stuff. But when I go to draw it or paint it, I find like I flatten it or not make it as volumetric and tangible as I want, and I don't know
sure.
why that's such an issue with me.
We'll find out. Just show me whatever you're going to show me, and we'll go from there. It could
Okay.
be because you don't understand your volumes in general, and you think you do, and then when we see the 3D, we'll find out for sure. I could be wrong, but we're just speculating now. I have no idea. I have to look at the stuff,
Okay.
evidence, because a lot of times people don't realize it, but when they're in 3D, even though you're getting free forms, doesn't mean that you're actually getting free forms. There's a thing
Mhm.
that happens in 3D where um, when you're painting, when you're designing in 3D, you're actually have to also think about how the light's hitting on the forms. And a lot of people don't do that. I call it lumpy forms. Like people get a lot of lumpy forms. So let's see. I only want to find
Okay.
out. Hold on just a second. My wife. All right. Um, yeah, so yeah, you can do whatever you want, man. It's up to you. Just got to be good. Right? Like I was just talking about, like the last question that I was answering, like is all about doing what you think is best for your portfolio, right? And then getting you there. So, yeah. Any other questions?
yeah, I had one
Go for
actually.
it.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm kind of still I'm still in my sort of first job, and It's in gaming, but slot machines, and
Oh, see, you
it's
gotta have a conversation and tell them that's the glamour, the life.
yeah. So a lot of what you said was very much like what I'm experiencing right now. I'm going into my second year, so actually, I was there for a year and then got laid off because of mergers, and then got rehired. But definitely, when you're not working, you have so much time. It's unbelievable now that I think about it. Now that I have to work every day, but.
Yeah.
Uh, My question was about when you're working on a project long term and dealing with the kind of fatigue, because I'm on my first sort of long project and I've been working on the same game for I think 10 months now, and it's really starting to become grating. Like it's just like what you said, when you come home creatively drained, and it's like,
Yeah,
you know,
so the answer to this problem is change your perspective. You're getting paid to draw. You know,
mhm,
that helps me. Like I was like that for a while. I was a little first worldy, right?
yeah,
And then I was like, what am I complaining about? You know, like truly, what am I complaining about? Right? And
yeah,
then once you get past that, okay, you still have the problem though, right? Like you're not doing things that you actually care about though. Because what ends up happening, I think, is that art is not a hobby anymore. It's a job, right? So you have to make it a
yeah,
hobby again. Okay? And the best way to do that is just do personal work. Just is.
mhm.
And a good way to start is like maybe before you go to work, or maybe you take a sketchbook with you, or maybe during
Yeah,
lunch. You just
yeah. I
start
started
drawing
something
for
like that.
yourself.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, I started doing so like one thing I do, and I think I've gotten to just about a month now, where
Sweet.
every lunch break I do just something, some kind of sketch. It's usually like quick portraits, that sort of thing, and
Totally.
it actually is helping, and it does
Yeah,
keep me kind
absolutely,
of
dude. And so you gotta just keep doing that and then evolve that to something else and just keep evolving it just naturally. Don't try to rush anything. Don't have a midlife crisis just yet. Right?
yeah,
Just
yeah,
just be like, okay, like I thought this was gonna have all the answers, it didn't. you know? Like that's
yeah,
the whole like the educational system. That's what I was trying to really kind of try to explain earlier, right? Like it's this misleading idea of like when you start to get that job, then all your life problems will start to go away. So, no, dude, that
you just get a whole new set of
you
problems.
get a whole new set of problems, right? And
Yeah,
so teaching yourself how to get past the new set of problems is what you need to do. Like teaching yourself how to adapt to problems as they come is what I'm trying to teach y'all, because I've learned over the years there really isn't like there isn't the one solution, right? There's just a general solution. And so for me, I'm gonna end it with this. Um, for me, it's this simple. Like when you're working at a job, it's a job, whether it's creative or not. And I always recommend people do personal work or find ways to do personal work, because that's your way out of that job. Because if you do concepts that you put on your portfolio and your ArtStation or DeviantArt or wherever site you choose, and you keep putting it there and you put artwork that you care about, right? Eventually someone's going to notice. And luckily you're in a position where you have a job already, so you're making money and you can potentially creatively practice things too. Like if you get your job done earlier, why don't you just do some sketches and paintings at work? I used to get in trouble all the time for doing like side stuff, but I'd always have all my work done so they couldn't get mad at me for too long.
yeah, yeah,
As long as you get your work done, right?
yeah.
Because I
Yeah, I think yeah, that's kind of
because
where I'm
when I
at
lost my
because
yeah when I lost my first job, sorry to interrupt, but like when I lost my
oh no,
first job, I was in a position where I didn't have a portfolio that I liked, and I couldn't do anything. I was really desperate. And after that, it never happened again because I basically took my own advice that I'm giving to you guys. But I didn't have that advice. I had to learn it the hard way, you know.
yeah,
And then ever since, so even when I was working at Sony, my really big first job, I worked on personal stuff just all the time. I would like there would be PSDs, right? that I did for work, but like in them there would be secret layers of sketches that I would do. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was constantly doing that. And that never stopped, even when I was working at Blizzard, man. Like when I was working at
Yeah.
Blizzard, my boss got mad at me, and he told the producer, my director got mad because every time he'd come on my desk, I would have like personal work up, but I would pop up like all the sketches. I would like dozens of sketches, and we would look over them, right? And then he would come up, and I'll be working on personal stuff. He's like, "What the?" So he complained to my producer, and then I told the producer, "But I have all the work done. It's not my fault that he just randomly comes to my desk whenever he chooses, you know." And it's like, if he wants to solve this problem, he just needs to come to my desk more often. If he comes every other hour, I should have something to show him. And she's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And so then that's what happened. And then sure enough, he came over every hour. I still had some personal stuff there because I'll still get it done. And then, but then he didn't get mad because I was like pumping out tons of artwork. And he's like, holy crap, you're doing like so much work. Like you did that like in the last hour? And I was like, yeah. He's like, what the? All right, you know what? We're going to switch you. We're going to put you on all of these tasks. So because I was doing the effects for the movie, right? The Warcraft movie. And
Yeah.
I was doing only a couple concepts. And there was about a dozen that needed to be done. And they're spread out between 3 or 4 artists. And after that few days of realizing that I was doing that fast, he put all of them onto me. He took it all away from everybody else. And I did them all in like a month.
Oh
And
man.
but I wasn't able to do personal work during that time because I was like, he was working me like a racehorse. But then when I was done with that, I was back to doing my own thing. I mean, I would take like 2 hour lunches, you know. I would take like freaking 15, 20-minute breaks all the freaking time because I'd get stuff done so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, I did my Gumroad videos while I was working at Blizzard. I did them in the morning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So
You're actually making me feel a whole lot better because I actually did get the first kind of like, hey, I noticed, did you work on personal sketches and stuff like that? You know, just make sure, you know, you get everything done. You know, I got that
as long as you
the
can
first time.
prove without a doubt that you're working and you're getting stuff done. If they have
Yeah.
anything to fight back with, then you gotta obviously adjust. But
Oh,
as long
yeah.
as you get it done, they should have nothing to complain about. And the way you argue out of that is just like, look, like it's pointless for me to just sit there and render like like a freaking blue ruby for like another hour. It's actually better
Yeah.
use of your time if I explore and get better at my craft.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I think, yeah, I think also the weird thing that happened for me too was that, of course, I'd worked there previously and had been laid off. But that first time around, I kind of got the job. I was just out of college, and I was just like, "Oh, sweet, I have a job. Like I'm set. Like I'm gonna, you know,
Yeah.
just sort of hang out for a while." And then, you know, you don't really know until it happens, and that was the first kind of like, "Oh, okay, nothing's permanent, so
Yep.
you
Totally.
should be ready to move." And that
Absolutely.
was, and so now I'm like, because I never used to sketch at lunch. I'd just be like, "Cool, I'll go eat, play
Yeah.
Super Smash Brothers,
Totally.
do all that stuff."
Yeah, you got it,
Uh,
man. You,
yeah.
you you literally lived the life that I lived. Unfortunately, you didn't get a chance to hear my advice because I already
Well,
lived
I
it.
know now. That's the thing. I know now. So
Sometimes you got to live it, right?
yeah,
Like I could be telling all you guys this stuff, and you guys be like, "Yeah, you're right, AJ," and then you still don't listen to me, and then it happens to you, and then I mean, there's nothing I can do, right? I can just try. Here's a piece of mine, and I'm gonna finish this thing, and then I'm gonna let you guys go. Which is, listen to this: is that I don't want you guys to make the same mistakes as me. I want you guys to make your own. Okay? Make your own unique mistakes that are unique to me. Trust my insight on a lot of this stuff. Make your own mistakes, right? Um, like I don't want you guys to live in my shadow. I want you guys to stand on my shoulders. You know what I mean? So anyway, so a good piece of advice in terms of like finding like a way of seeing this in terms of perspective, in terms of motivation. This is what motivation looks like. Motivation is like a burst of fire comes in one or two instances, and then it starts to whittle away, and then embers come, right? And like this is like day by day, like or month by month, or year by year, or however you want to look at this, right? Or week by week. But if you have a consistent, like I said, if you get back to putting your money and time into being consistent, right? Then when those days come where you're like you went to an event or you saw a tutorial that like gave you the heebie-jeebies, you know, and you're just like, awesome, now my life is better. When that fire burns back down, because it will come back down, you're back to your baseline. See that? And this could start off as simple as doing 1 hour a day of sketching, maybe 2 hours. It can be that simple. It doesn't have to be a lot, right? Where maybe 6 hours is devoted to portfolio building and artwork building, you know, but like there's moments of your life where you just do things for yourself so you don't lose the hobby. Yeah? Makes sense? So you guys doing killer. Great questions, great discussion. Appreciate y'all. But I'm going to end the class now. Thanks again. I'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend and hang out with each other. Help each other out, you know. Help each other, man. Talk to each other. Become friends. That's another really powerful tool in this industry is making great friendships, you know. A lot of times people want to make friends with just industry leaders, but trust me, you don't want to just make friends with those people. You want to make friends with people that are not there yet. Just make friends with good people. Like you guys seem pretty good. Because guess what? If you guys keep drawing, you're all going to be epic one day. You know? Like it's just a fact. Okay? It's like there's no way around it. If you keep working at this consistently and constantly, you guys are all going to be great. You guys are going to be doing your own talks. You guys are going to have your own tutorials. You guys are going to be doing your own workshops and working at some great companies or starting your own companies, you know? It's just going to happen. It just is. So making friends with people is very genuine when I really mean that. Like, don't have an agenda. Just make friends with people. Because even if you make friends with, like, let's say you meet an art director and you're not, like, he's not cool to you. He's not a friendly guy and he treats you like dirt and trash, but he's like the art director of your favorite company. Do you truly want to work there with that person telling you what to do? You know what I mean? The answer is no. Spoiler alert. No, you don't. Okay?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good the company is. You do not want to work with that person. Trust me, man. Okay? I'd rather work for a super small company with really awesome people than a super big company with awful people. It's just a fact. You'll experience it. I've seen my friends go through it. And you have control over all that. Okay? You really do. Now, you may not feel that way, but trust me, you do. All right, guys. Peace out. Thanks again for all the good work. Latest.
Thanks, man.
Have a
you,
great
Ray.
weekend.
We need slow jams now.
Rick
Thanks for
Ashley.
everything.